Everyone, welcome to the Thursday night segment of The Outer Realm with myself and Amelia Pisano. So thrilled that you could be here tonight. Always a pleasure. Please note that tonight's segment is partially sponsored by Folgers Coffee. So thank you, Folgers. We love you muchly. We are broadcasting live here on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM and 105.3 FM from beautiful New Orleans. So, just a reminder, the only way you can participate in the show tonight is to go over to YouTube on the United Public Radio Network page, subscribe, because this is the only way you're going to be able to interact with us during the show. Please remember to tag Amelia to get her attention so we may relay your questions and comments to our guest or address them on the show. Tonight, of course, we've got the amazing Reverend Bill Bean joining us, and he'll be discussing everything from his new book, Angels, Devils, wherever this segment takes us. It's always a lot of fun. He's a returning guest, and we're going to have a whole boatload of fun tonight. So welcome, 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 Bubbles.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you? I'm just
Okay.
finishing up the last. I did tag you, and I'm just finishing up the last of it here.
Okay, good. Hello,
For the
Jessica. Okay, I'm going to go
oh,
accept
she's
that.
here again. So the kids are all asleep then, Jess.
Don't sound so
She's
excited,
on.
Amelia.
The
She's
kids
here
are
again.
asleep.
It's like-
No. That's good. That's good. That means your kids went to bed on time. I feel for
Yeah.
her. There's two. It's
Yeah.
hard.
It's always
Hi,
nice.
Jessica. That's my
Okay,
niece.
there
That's
we
on my niece. How did I get
go.
an Italian accent when I said that? That's on my niece.
My niece. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're just gonna let Amelia finish that, and then hey, Zachman,
Yeah,
hello.
I'm
And
getting there.
okay, get that done, and we can get on there. And
Yes, and I can get into chat. So hello, everyone.
yay.
Jessica. My father would have said my granddaughter. My granddaughter. Because the Italian, the R, right? They
Right.
roll it. But oh my gosh, yeah, I didn't have any internet just 5 minutes ago.
Oh, terrible. Terrible. Oh, you're freezing. I'm losing you. I'm losing you. Oh, think we're freezing. Well, jeepers. Well, on that note, I'm still live. I think Amelia's frozen, so we'll wait for her to get back, and we'll wait for our guest to arrive. I always love having Bill Bean on the show because he's just so delightful. He's knowledgeable. He's a lot of fun. And there he is. Hi, Belle. How are you?
Hi, Michelle. How are you?
I'm good. I'm waiting for Amelia. She's frozen like a statuette. Just waiting for her to get back.
Oh, no.
I know she's having internet issues over there. So,
Well, I hope everything works out. I'm sure God will work it out and we will move forward, no doubt.
of course, it'll be hit and miss. She just got on a few minutes before the show, so she'll fight with it. So, how are you?
I'm doing great. Just busy as usual.
Right.
Excited to have this book completed. And
Right.
also, this will be a surprise to you here. I'm going to launch my Warrior Mode t-shirts here on your show tonight. Yeah,
like
so we
that.
just
I
come
like
up with that. And
the
so there's a
first.
lot of stuff going on and busy
Good.
as usual with the clients as well. There's so many people in need these days.
Absolutely. And I think especially in this, these days, the troubled times, it's hard to believe that we're experiencing this. I never thought I would see it in our time. It's just, I think personally it's a time where people should be coming together, and it seems to be quite the opposite,
I
actually.
agree. I completely agree with you.
It's surprising.
And this is why I say and maybe I'll have a t-shirt with this saying on it as well, the golden rule, treat others how you wish to be treated. And if people could do that, then suddenly the world would change instantaneously because people would be motivated to treat each other with kindness and love and respect, decency. And boy, would that ever be a changing theme in the world.
It certainly would be. I think it's been a bit of an eye opener. I know people are stressed out this is going on much longer than it should have been.
Yeah.
And I also feel that when people get into a bad place, it opens them up for all kinds of heartaches, attachments, more physical or mental, like depression or
Yeah.
anxieties. And that sometimes just breeds a whole other bunch of issues. But it's sad to see people turning on one another and even fighting with one another with belief systems. It's like, I have people from all walks of life who follow me.
Mhm.
And I'm like, you're all entitled to think what you want to think. I respect all of your decisions. Please respect mine. Mind you, I never get like political or anything or get into religions or the two big taboos. It just opens you up.
Right. It's a recipe for disaster in the sense that it could bring great conflict. In most cases, it will. And I completely agree with you. I love all people, and I'm very firm in my beliefs. Yet, love people and respect people, and I won't trash anybody or tell them they're wrong. God gave us free will, so He created us with free will. That's why there's a devil in the first place. That's why he's the adversary of mankind, because of the free will that God gave us.
Mm-hmm. No, you're not wrong on that. I think people just need to realize it. Okay, Amelia, this is just Amelia. I'm just telling her to please text Joel. Okay, I can't help you, unfortunately.
God
So
bless
bear
her.
with us, everybody. Yeah, Zachman says the golden rule is the easiest rule to follow. And he says, hello, Bill. What's up, brother? How have you been? So he's
How
our
are you, my
regular.
brother? Thank you for being with us and tuning in.
Hi.
There
she
we are.
is.
Okay. Just that little voice.
Sorry. Yeah, it says hi, Bill. It doesn't say hi, Bill, but hi, Bill. It
Hi,
says
Amelia.
connection too weak. So the internet must be down in my area.
Oh.
But I thank God for the phone.
Yes, absolutely. So Bill was just telling us that he's going to be breaking the news that he's launching his new T-shirt line here on the Outer Realm.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. The Warrior Mode T-shirts, and both of you need to have one of those, so you got to make sure that you have one. What I should have done, Michelle, was sent you the link, and I think what I'll do is I'll send you the link right now. If you don't mind, I'll just send it over to the messenger thing there, and that way you have it.
Sure.
Okay, that's
I'll
perfect.
share it up.
All right, let's see. Here's the link.
All right, send it to me, and I will send it to Amelia.
Awesome.
She's our go-to gal with that.
Thank you so much.
So where are we? It's going to Messenger, did you say?
Right to the Skype.
Oh, Skype.
The Skype chat
Get
thing.
back over to Skype. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
I heard it just pop like a little bubble.
Yep, there it is.
Okay, I don't quite see it yet.
I held off on that for a long time, but I thought, you know what? Now's the time. The time is right. I want people, even though it's just a shirt, I want people to take that to heart. I want them to become a warrior. And being a warrior for God is walking in that level of faith, strength, and courage. And if we can really do that, and again, live by the golden rule, life will be very, very good for us. We'll never have a perfect life. No one does. But I can guarantee you'll have a far greater and more blessed life if you can apply these simple things to your life.
I think it's a good start. Let's put it. I'm just sending you links around. So I think it's a good start.
Do you want me to send it to Amelia as well?
Oh, I did.
No, I have it.
Okay.
I'm putting it in the.
That's what I was doing. I'm just sending it around.
Thank you. Yeah, I just put it in our chat room, and I'll put it on Facebook as well for you.
I thought to myself,
on the promo.
Good time now, since we're doing the show, to just go ahead and I finalized everything today with it. So I'm really happy that it's something is available, and I pray that people will, if they decide that they want it, it'll be something that, again, they can apply to their life and really live by and walk in that. So that's what my hope is.
Well, especially if they're having that kind of a day, and then all I have to do is just get in the mirror and go, "Ooh, I did not apply this to my life today."
Right, here I am. Some of the shirts I have, Annette Munich made a great image for me of a lion with the cross on there, and it's really good. And then I have another image that Jeff Leeper made for me which is a warrior angel, with a sword. He put the sword in the left hand because I'm left-handed, and the shield in the right hand, and with the website on there. So
that's
whichever the person
fantastic.
chooses, again, I always pray that God can work through me to be a blessing somehow, some way. And maybe in some way, people may feel empowered by putting it on if they are going to apply that credo to their life, the faith, strength, and courage.
Well, if there's any time to do it, I would think now is the time to do it. So
Yeah.
get some positive vibrations out there, right?
So much
And I want to say
negativity
to
right
Amelia,
now.
before we go any further, I didn't have a chance and haven't had a chance to say to you in person, I'm very sorry about the passing of your beloved father. And
Thank you so much. That's very kind of you. Thank you.
Well, I've kept you in prayer, and we've prayed for you quite a bit on my show on Sundays. So,
Thank you.
and for your family also. So I understand totally what it's like to lose a loved one, especially your father. So my heart goes out to you and your family, and I'll continue to pray for all of you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, he was my best friend. Yeah, it's been tough, but it's hard when you lose a parent at a young age, like my mom when I was 27, and then losing my dad at 51. I mean, he was 90. He lived a long life, and he lived a good life. I mean, he had his losses, but he did live a long life. Suffered a lot of losses, but there's always something to learn in everything, and I'm a true believer in that. And you always have to look for the signs and the good in it, because they're always there, and
he's with
luckily
you,
I can
Amelia.
communicate with him.
God,
he is. He always is.
And I can't
Thank you
pretend
so much.
to understand that, but I do believe 1,000,000% that God does allow our loved ones to come and be with us and check in on us from time to time. So I have no doubt.
Absolutely.
He visits. He's always the one giving her a twang in the back of the head when she's misbehaving.
Right. Yes. And he was very, very, very strong in the beginning. Now I know that, he's probably working on his own spiritual journey right now.
Yeah.
And when I do need him and I call out for him, I can feel him. So I'm grateful for that.
Well, we praise God for it. And I pray that God will continue to bless you and heal you and your family members as well. It's never an easy thing. I understand it all too well, I'm sorry to say. And it is something that, my parents have been gone. I was very, very young when neither one of them lived to see the age of 50. And
I know.
I understand that. And I'm able to deal with it, but it's really unfathomable to think, when I really have moments of reflection, that I have been on this earth longer without them than I was with them.
That's frightening when you think about that. Yes.
My mother. Yeah. That's crazy. My niece is in the chat room. She said that's sweet. Thank you so much.
Oh, no, it's my pleasure. And I mean it. I'll keep all of you in prayer, and anything that I can do anytime to provide you with comfort or prayer or assistance, please just let me know.
Oh, thanks. Right now, we're just waiting for lockdown to lift. So, because we were unable to have his 30-day mass, he was a practicing Roman Catholic. So we were unable to have it because of lockdown. So hopefully, once this lifts, and then we'll do the year one, because it's already 3 months almost. So we'll have to do the year special mass just for him.
Have the numbers improved there where both of you are? Have the COVID numbers improved any? Or?
Oh yeah, they've improved, but they're opening things up again on Tuesday. So we're.
Oh boy.
Yes.
And they're calling for the third wave mid of April with the new variant. So I don't know why we're opening up for all of 6 weeks. But whatever, it's the government.
Exactly.
I'm done with it right now.
Understand that at all.
No,
not
at all.
On better notes, you have a new book out, and you touch a little bit on all of this stuff. Strange things. I mean, we are in strange times. We spoke about that a little bit, and I guess, are you getting like, are you getting, we spoke a little bit about attachments and just being, negative vibrations and just being low and feeling down and a lot of negativity. Do you find yourself a little bit busier these days?
Much busier. I've always been busy, but, and I thought since I'd really ceased my traveling pretty much because of COVID, I thought maybe I would have a lull, but not
Not so
really.
much.
We're busy now because they're just, people are just in such emotional distress. And this goes back to what I said last time I was on about frequency and vibration. All life operates on frequency and vibration. And whatever it may be, whatever it is that would lower our frequency and vibration, we're wide open, we're vulnerable to attack. And that's what's happening with many of these people. And it's just amazing, Michelle, the amount of people that continue to contact, and also people that have reoccurring. So I'm finding now that as fast as I can close these portals by the power of God, it seems like new ones open up. And then, some of the same people are being affected. So now I'm literally having these monthly follow-up sessions with some of my clients. And it's amazing how this is taking place. But I've had some heavy duty stuff here lately. I had performed an exorcism over the phone the other day. And oh my goodness, you should have heard those demons just shrieking and growling and just unbelievable. And I praise God for working through me. The client had actually passed out at one point, surrounded by her family.
Wow.
This
That's
was heavy
crazy.
duty. And so, yes, this is, continuing to affect people. And I feel that as long as the situation continues with the COVID and all these other things that could come as a result of that, or other fresh new things that can come along to put people in distress, it's going to bring the frequency and vibration down, and they're going to have problems. And so, whatever the case may be, I thank God and praise God for working through us to be able to help people. And so that's all we can do. And sometimes it's like trying to put a forest fire out with a garden hose.
No, you're not wrong. We find the same. We find that amp ups, as I call it, things are reoccurring. And I just find that sometimes I find myself spending a lot of time just talking to people now. They just seem to need to hear me and connect with me. And sometimes that's all it takes. And I'm happy, I'm happy to do it. But I also find that, people who are losing, oh, there she is. Yay. People who are losing loved ones, the grieving process sometimes opens you up to attack.
Absolutely.
But, mimics coming in and taking advantage, or there's a whole slew of reasons, right?
Yeah. I'm glad you said that, because I was thinking that earlier, that what I said in that God does allow our loved ones to come in. Yes, I absolutely believe that's true. However, when that doorway opens up, mimics, familiar spirits can come in behind and try and take the form and the shape and the voice of our long lost loved one. And that's where discernment comes in. And if we have that level of discernment from God, we'll test the spirit and we'll know who's who and who's not who. So I'm glad you brought that up, Michelle.
Yeah, we've just seen it so many times. God, I've spent 18 years just seeing it being a problem. But I just find more in recent times, I guess people are just losing people at a quite a rate. And I just seem to be hearing the same stories more often. I was visited, but there's just things that just didn't seem right about the visit. So, sometimes you're just trying to prevent something from happening also, taking them, just changing the mindset, saying, no, like your loved one wouldn't do that. They wouldn't behave that way.
Exactly right.
Things of that nature. So what should people look for? Because I know this is something that we're going to get into talking in your new book, angels and demons and things of that nature, and oppression. Oppression, possession. Like, what should people look for if you've lost somebody? And I specifically want to tackle this because we are in these times What should they be looking for while they're grieving and things just aren't right in their world and they're at a vulnerable point?
Well, it's so sad and unfortunate when we lose our
And
loved
she's
ones,
gone.
and that can really translate into our pets as well. They become like family members. It's very, very difficult.
That's correct. Yeah.
When we're in that grieving process, we have to be very careful because, again, this is heavy duty emotion that is lowering the frequency and vibration because everything is heavy. It's sad. It's somber. There's heartbreak. There's heartache. So my best advice during times of grieving is to really seek God out, seek him out and draw closer to him than ever before. Right. And may he help the person that is grieving in that way and also give the person discernment, because the devil, he never stops. He's relentless. He never stops. He's very clever in that he will exploit a situation. And if a person is in that vulnerable stage like that, he'll send those mimicking familiar spirits in. And then if the person falls for those tricks, well, now it's a recipe for disaster, and disastrous things can occur from making such a connection, in allowing that to come in, being tricked, thinking that it is a loved one, when the whole time it was a devil in disguise. So this is where discernment must come in. This is where we have to take a deep breath and a step back and say, okay, let me analyze this. And it's very important to use our mind to analyze the situation, not the heart, not impulse, our mind. We have to use our mind and analyze everything and say, okay, what is this? And break this down and then test the spirit.
It's like being hit when you're down.
Correct. That's exactly. And that's what he does. He employs bully tactics, divide and conquer tactics. He's the original salesman, the original con man, the original liar, a coward, to where he comes in and literally not just kicks people when they're down, but he wants to destroy people when they're down. And so this is all based on moments of weakness. The openings come, and if he sees a little opening, then he and his demons are going to kick the door in, and they're going to do anything and everything that they can do to kill, rob, and destroy.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I think people, your faith falters, because especially when you lose somebody. Sure. It's very, very difficult. You're just, the blame game, and everybody has different faiths. Not everybody follows the same faith, but the end result is often the same to whomever you call out to, or wherever your faith lies. And I think that it gets very difficult. I know I get a lot of calls and especially when you have people who will take their lives, or, like we just lost someone in our family recently, like a family friend, horrific accident. Yeah, just really.
I'll be praying for you and your family as well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, a very close family friend. She was only 24, and it was an accident that was just so senseless. But all the signs were there that this was going to happen. You were sidetracked. You missed the exit. Everything that could happen that was wrong happened.
Oh my!
It was inevitable. So I just think you get you just get to that point where it's like you just got to start questioning the wheels that get put into motion.
Yeah.
And what puts the wheels in motion?
Well, everything means something, that's for sure. There's no such thing as coincidence in life.
I agree.
Every single thing has meaning. Everything, for the better or for the worse. And even in a situation like mine, to where I'm thankful to God that he has transformed my life, and I was transformed from victim to victor. Yeah, and my life is 50 times more blessed than it was ever cursed. And I thank God and praise God for it. But I also, in retrospect, in looking back, realize that I could not be where I'm at right now and helping others had I not been there to suffer those things.
I agree.
So everything means something. There's a reason for everything. And perhaps, maybe I was supposed to experience some of those things in order to be where I'm at now.
I often say the same. I came from an attachment, and I got myself somehow, amazingly, long before internet, got myself out of that. And
Yeah,
I went
praise
on to
God.
do, yeah, thank you. I go on to do what I do, and people that I have helped have often themselves gone on to start groups themselves or just take a path where they can pay it forward somehow and help someone else. People always say to me, what do you charge? I say, I don't charge. I don't charge. And they're like, well, what can I do? Like, I want to do something. I say, pay it forward. Just
Yeah,
make somebody's day, even if it just means smiling at somebody that day who could just use it. Give somebody a hug. Just be an ear.
I
Sometimes,
agree.
sometimes a smile. You look at a homeless person, everybody sort of just looks down at, and you give them a smile, help them up. Just anything. It
I
doesn't
agree.
have to cost anything. Just a gesture. Sometimes that's all you need to do.
And we never know that homeless person could be an angel in disguise.
You hear the stories all the time,
Yeah,
don't you? I think I'm
absolutely.
keep trying. Internet is gone. No lights on the board. Okay.
Oh, that's a
So that's
shame.
Amelia.
Poor
Yeah.
Amelia.
Keep trying, please. There we go. We miss you.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
and a lot of people filling up in the chat room. Jade, nice to see you in there. Jessica Tackett, I'm here for Warrior Bill. Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Hi,
nice.
Jessica.
Mr. West, I don't see any spirits. Good, not bad. Not since my grandmother 10 years ago. So I'm glad you can join us. That's awesome. So yeah, quite a few people coming in. So always nice to see. So okay, your book again. You touch on so many different things. Why don't we
Yeah.
touch with angels, and let's maybe take it sort of chapter by chapter because this is all like really. It's a really good read.
Oh, thank you, Michelle.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I'd like to include you in the next. There's going to be a part 3
Oh my
because there's
goodness.
just so much.
Yeah,
It's endless.
it
I
is.
might end up with 10 parts out of this. Who knows?
I know. We
But
keep
in the
going.
next
Spread
one,
the
I'd like
word.
to include the two of you
Yeah, thank
to
you.
have something in there. It's amazing. I've already got a lot of content for the part 3 already. But part 2 now, which is getting ready to come out on the 18th. Yes, we do cover angels. And I would say it's probably my favorite chapter in the book just because it is good, it is positive, it covers what God does in having these miracle workers of his, where he dispatches them to come into situations. And I list some of my own personal experiences in there, which I've been in many life-threatening situations throughout my life, and each and every time God has
I
saved
remember
me.
your story. Yeah.
Yeah, and I praise him for that. We also have several other contributors, including my own sister, that contributed in there. My sister had a house fire, and she was awakened from her sleep just as this thing was getting ready to really kick off. And she says in there that it had to be divine intervention because she's a very sound sleeper. She would not have awakened otherwise. And yet something stirs her from a sound sleep. And then she looks out and it looks like daylight to her. And then she realizes the house is on fire.
Wow, that's amazing. People, there's something to be said for it. I've had angelic experiences, I've had demonic experiences, and there's no like when you know it when you see it, I guess is the only way I could probably put it. You just know it when it happens and you don't second guess it because it's just so extraordinary.
I've
Call it what you
listed,
will.
I agree, Michelle. And I
Yeah,
listed several of
very
my own
profound.
experiences in there. I worked in the bar business for many, many years. And I could write a book just on those experiences alone. And there were several instances where my life was in jeopardy. And then, I wrote about a few of them in there. One, I had a knife wielding man that nearly slashed my face, and I praise God, I was able to subdue him and disarm him. But a group of people jumped on us, and it was just amazing. It was like a wave just washing over us of all the people. How I was able to take control of him through all that was a miracle in itself. And so the long and short of it is that I was able to continue to subdue him, and the police came and took him away, and he was deported back to El Salvador.
Mm.
And then another incident took place, and it was in the same year. Amazing. It was within, I think, a few months of each other. Same place I was working. This involved a gunman that had fired 2 shots in the men's room. And I was standing on the other side of the wall, was talking with the DJ, Bob, and his girlfriend, Jen. And the music was loud, but yet I know what gunshots sound like, and I heard the pop, pop, and I thought, oh boy, this is
that's tough.
I was working alone that night.
Right.
And ordinarily, when something would happen, I would rush to whatever scene it was. But yet, I was trying to rush to it, but it was as if God was slowing everything down. He was slowing my steps down. And then, as I go to open the men's room door, that door had this spring-like sound. So if you opened the door, it would have this loud spring, sounding. So you couldn't just sneak in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yet when I ease, so God slows everything down.
Mm-hmm.
I get to the door, I ease it open, and it makes no sound.
Now
the gunman is standing with the pistol to the back of the head of this guy against the wall.
Wow.
All this debris is coming down because he fired 1 shot into the ceiling, so it looked like it was snowing in there. And he had fired the other round into the divider between the urinals, the metal divider. And so he was too far away from me for me to be able to try and charge him and disarm him. If I would have tried that, he could have shot the victim in the back of the head. I literally at that point, as I ease that door open, I'm thinking, dear God, somebody's going to die here. And so I gently ease back out. Now there's a crowd of people that are gathered because they want to know what I'm doing. And so the little busboy comes over, and I mouth to him, call 911. And so they do that. And at that point, I had eased out of the door. And as I eased out, I took a couple of steps back away from the door, would have been to the to my left. And so as I did that, now the door opens and the victim comes out first. The gunman's behind him. And so I let the victim go by, and then I swept the feet out from the gunman and took him down. And the weapon, the pistol, was cocked and ready to fire again. And I held him down, no exaggeration, for probably 10 minutes until the police arrived. I don't know what took them so long to get there, but it seemed like an eternity. And but I, held him down, and they ended up arresting him, and he did like 3 years in prison. And I often thought, boy, one day that front door is going to swing open, and this guy's going to come walking in a duster
looking
with
for
a
you.
Shotgun. Exactly right. And it never happened. Praise God. And I wish the man well. I hope he's doing well in his life now. I hope he's straightened his life up. But I will never forget that. I have been in riots. Where I had 1 or 2 security guys working with me, and we were in the middle of a riot of 30-some people. It was so bad that I had to get inside of an ambulance to have all the blood cleaned off of me. Just absolutely horrific things and life-threatening things, Michelle, that I've been through over the years in that business alone. And then I had another instance, which I mentioned in the book, to where I was working construction. I think it was in 1988. And I fell 50 feet. I fell off of this, they call them salt domes for the state of Maryland. They house the road salt. And our job was to strip off the shingles and the plywood underneath and replace it. And we were 50 feet up, and we had these little 1x6, or they were 2x6 boards on these little jacks. And so I was working with a friend of mine named Frank. And it was a very windy day. We pulled a sheet of plywood off of there, and the wind caught that, and I lost my balance. And I went to grab onto something to try, and it was a 1x3, and it was rotted, and I went right through. And everything was happening so fast, but yet it was in slow motion. And I remembered saying, as I was falling through, oh no. And just going down, happening fast, but yet in slow motion. I bounce off of this, it was this 20-foot aluminum ladder that was braced on the inside. I bounced off of that. So I come down, I bounce off of that. Now I'm back up in the air, and then I landed on my rear end. And when I landed, thank God there was enough of that salt in there to where I wasn't killed or seriously, and everything just jammed up. I mean, it felt like my head just jammed into my shoulders. It's a wonder my teeth didn't bust out.
So a lot of things didn't bust
unbelievable,
out.
Michelle. And this is another miracle from God, because I laid there for a second, and then all the guys came running down and said, stay down, we've called an ambulance. Well, I was so afraid that I was seriously injured that I got back up. Not only did I get back up, within 15 minutes, I was back up there working again. And my knees were knocking together. I had nightmares about that fall for like 3 weeks. And that was really the end for me for working in that type of line of work, working high up. I couldn't do it anymore. And boy, oh boy, I will never forget it. Again, even back in childhood, I had a couple life-threatening experiences there. One I mentioned in the book in 1974, my dad and I were walking my grandfather out to the car, and he would come by the house every morning to bring baked goods. He and his brother had a bakery nearby, and he would stop by and bring my mother baked goods. And so he was leaving. My dad and I walk out with him. He gets in his car. This was 1974. It was he had a 1973 Chevrolet Impala, and we are standing in front to the passenger side of the car. My dad gave a few pats on the hood. He starts the car up. Now, where we lived at, and that was that hell house that we lived in, at that time. And it was located, it looked like a horseshoe. So it was located at the bottom of that downhill cul-de-sac. So it went down, it was like a horseshoe. And so you would have, if you pulled down, you would have to back up. And so he starts the car up. He puts the car in reverse, but then swore something, put that car down in drive and mashed the gas pedal. And how my dad got us out of the way before that car ran through us, because it went right through where we were standing. That was a miracle in itself. The vehicle ran through the fence and hit the next door neighbor. They had like a brick barbecue thing adjacent, attached to the house. And the car ran through the fence and plowed right through that block enclosure there. And it was a miracle. I mean, we should have been run down. We should have been killed that day. So again, many times I feel the enemy was trying to take me out and get rid of me before I could be in this position.
I was going to say, they do have the ability to go forward in time, allegedly, so they would know what was coming. The one question I do get a lot, because I just want to backtrack a little bit to the man in the bar. A lot of people will say, do you think people who I'll use this man as an example. Do they snap and comes in and I'm just going to take somebody out? Do they have attachments? Is a question I do get a lot.
Yes. And even back then, I was not the spiritual warrior back then, obviously. However, I was finding my way, and through making many mistakes throughout my life, I was going in the right direction. And I found that the closer that I drew to God, the closer he was drawing to me. So I was developing my faith. I wasn't there yet.
You reached 905-692-5913. We are unable to take your call. Please leave a message after the tone, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you.
Oh, no.
Bubbles. Hang up the phone. Get on the phone. I don't know what you're doing.
Oh, no.
Okay.
But I found that it was 2 steps forward, 3 steps backward.
Yes.
And so it's a process. And I tell my clients this as well. Some people, they're delivered instantaneously. They never have another problem again. Others, it is that process of 2 steps forward, 3 steps backward. And so we must stay in the fight. So at that point in time, I was developing my faith. However, even though I was still finding my way, God had given me this discernment And so if an individual came in, and if I were at the door and the person came in, I would immediately feel and know if that person was going to be a problem or not. I could feel the evil on them. I could feel attachments on them. And I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that that person was going to end up being a major problem. And in most cases, they were.
Interesting. That's interesting. Are you back, Amelia?
Yes, I got booted out on the phone too, so I don't know what's going on. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody hit a pole or something nearby, because there's no lights on the Wi-Fi at all. I have 2 boosters, and I have the highest speed that they carry, so it's crazy. It has to be some accident or something.
Have you been following along? Do you have any questions? Want to jump in?
I just was able to hear him now talk about near death, how many times he's come close to it, and how. And I've been following in the chat room while the phone's nonstop ringing. Okay. Thanks, Joe. Poor guy. I got booted out twice, so I'm hoping to stay in. But yes, I've been paying attention as much as I could. I've been dialing in, and any opportunity I had to listen. But I believe, as Michelle said, they go forward in time, can see what's going to happen, and try to interfere constantly because you're obviously a threat.
Yeah. And they didn't want me to be where God wanted me and needed me to be as a spiritual warrior helping people. So absolutely right. I agree 100%. And I just thank God for protecting me through it all. I remember another case of a guy that I worked at a different bar, and this was back in the late 80s. And this individual, when he came in, again, I knew he was going to be a problem. And sure enough, within minutes, he had threatened to kill someone. And the man came up to me and asked me if I would walk him to his car. Now, I made a big mistake in this, and I was always the guy that was the manager of the security teams. I've had as many as 20, 30 guys on a security staff. I've managed, large places like that with high volumes of people. And so in a situation like that, any other time I would have gotten some of my security guys and said, look, let's walk this guy out to his car and make sure he's all right. But for some reason, on this particular occasion, I decided to do it myself and didn't even let anybody know what I was doing. So nobody knew where I was or what I was doing. Not good. So I walked this guy out, and sure enough, here comes the little guy that threatened his life. And now he pulls a gun out, and he's pointing a gun at both of us. And he's yelling and screaming in Spanish. And I mean, I really felt like this man was going to pull the trigger at any second. And then all of a sudden, this little Spanish guy comes out of nowhere and screams something to him in Spanish, and he lowers the gun, and they both run off.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. The world is a crazy place, and unfortunately, you just never know what every day is going to bring. I think you just have to be grateful for every day that you wake up and say, God, I made it another day.
That's the first thing I do, Michelle. When I open my eyes every day, the first thing I do is I thank God and praise God for the day, because life is a gift. And for those who think that God doesn't work miracles, I strongly disagree, because he works a miracle for us every single day. It's the miracle of life. And I thank him and praise him for it every day. We don't know. There is no timetable for our lives. There's nothing written down that says you're going to live this long. So life is a gift. Life is very fragile. And we really need to be aware of that and thank God and praise God for it.
Absolutely. So angelic experiences, a lot of people that have them, a lot of people, you read about it all the time. I think some of my favorite stories tend to be the ones that come from soldiers who say they look up on the horizon and see an army of angels that just form a wall, that just protects them. I remember also reading a story when I was younger about people who were in a concentration camp, and someone was holding, I guess, a Jewish Bible. And they had a senior I guess, German officer going by, and he was checking everybody and their belongings. And they kept saying, and allegedly this lady and her child basically said, like, please pass over me. Don't see me. Don't see me. Because if you find this is it. Right. And it's like he walked by. Yeah. It's just like
Isn't that
something just
amazing?
veiled her. Yeah. Just veiled her. And he's like, she wasn't even there. And he looked right at them and like wasn't even there. And I love stories like that. They're
That's
so
beautiful.
It is. It's it's just very, very
They're
inspirational.
uplifting, and it gives us blessed assurance that God loves us and he is with us and for us. And if God's with us and for us, then he'll get us through anything. Nothing's going to stand against us. He will get us through anything. He'll make the impossible possible. It takes me back to Daniel being put into the lion's den. Nothing happened to him because God kept his blessing and favor and protection on him and over him. So in a multitude of situations, and I always go back to my own personal stuff, but these things that you mentioned and other things, I absolutely believe it because I know what God's done for me. So I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that he does these miracles for a multitude of people on a regular basis.
No, it's happening. People are writing about it, and it's just people from different walks of life who they don't all study the same religion. I believe that, and ultimately you come to the same place as whatever road you choose to take.
I have performed exorcisms for people as far as Cairo, Egypt, that were Muslims. I remember doing an exorcism deliverance for a family in France. They didn't speak English. I don't speak French, but yet somehow through the power of God, that barrier was broken and his power delivered that family. And I remember getting a translated message from the lady saying, thank God we are free now. And it's a miracle. And it was a miracle, but that was, and I've also helped a family in Pakistan. It's very difficult with the language barriers. However, God makes a way.
I think when things are meant to be, they just happen, and that's, I guess, what makes it all even that much more amazing. But one of the things that I do, you get some people who are very hardcore and they're very staunch and they don't sway from the belief in any way. They have no open mind. They're skeptical. It's like they're so open about this, but they're very skeptical about this or this. It's a big universe, but I love that you're open-minded and versatile. So
I love everybody. Again, I can't, though I am strong in my beliefs the way that God guides me. I can't or won't force that on anybody else because it's not my right to do that. God gave us free will. So therefore, it would be wrong of me to say, you better do it this way or you're going to hell or whatever. Well, no, that's not my place to say that. Every person has a personal relationship and connection with God. No man has any business to that. Now, I can be an interceder to lead a person to God, but then I have to back out of that because that's between God and that person. And so when it comes down to these different beliefs and things of that nature, I just try to love people and I do the best that I can do by the power of God to help them. If people ask me questions, I will share with them what my beliefs are and why. However, I would never go to a person and hit them over the head with the Bible and say, oh, you got to believe. When people are doing that, Michelle, they're guilty of something. And I find that, unfortunately, with a lot of those preachers that you see on TV, and they're telling you everything that you need to do and you better do this or you're hellbound and all that. Meanwhile, they're doing anything and everything. And it's okay for them to do anything and everything, but you better toe the line. And I just find that that's where the cult type of thing comes in, to where when people develop that type of power over others, boy, oh boy, nothing good's going to come from that. And so when people say to me, and I've had these letters, people telling me that I'm their hero and they worship me and all, and I say, look,
That's not a good
Thank you
thing
very
either.
much, but no.
Yeah.
We worship God. I'm just a man. I'm nothing special at all. God
the
just works
messenger
through
here.
me. Exactly.
Yeah,
And so I try to
exactly. Yeah.
always clarify
Mm,
that. And I love people and I appreciate their kind words, but we
mm,
always have to direct our praise and worship to God. Even Jesus himself
mm.
always gave the praise and thanks to God.
No, absolutely. I just watch. You'll see me look away every now and then. I just watch the chat room. It's just going, going, going. So it's hard for I'm just like,
Yeah.
but
They're talking about a haunting on a hill. I
I
didn't
know.
catch all of it, but a lot of bad things happen. It almost sounds like Amityville. The house is full of, this is Eric Spellman, and it says, the house is full of evil, and I can feel it too. Just looking at it, it's a white colored house on a hill, and there have been murders there, and animal and human ritual sacrifice
Oh, that's
there,
hard.
and people have never come out alive. There
That's
are things
crazy.
happen to their vehicles leaving the driveway. Eric, you need to tell us where this is. You
Yeah,
just
this
talk
is
about
crazy.
a house. Let me know where that is.
Oh, that's, oh,
The
yeah,
only
that's
house
insane.
people don't care to set foot in, and if they do, they end up with serious issues if they make it out alive. Well, that would have hit the news, wouldn't it? Where is that?
I've never heard
Please
of
let
it.
us
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, that's
No,
crazy.
neither have I. You would think that some investigative group has heard of this, unless it's something that we know, and
I'm sure they'd
because
be
we don't know
lining
where
up.
he is.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, I would
Sadly.
imagine so. I would
Yeah.
imagine so.
I
Unless
had a
it's a small
recent
town and they're
case.
keeping it quiet.
I had a
Told the
recent case
basement is a gigantic pentagram with candles, and the floor is stained with blood from sacrifice. We need to know where.
Yeah, I've never heard of
Please
that.
let us. No, please type where that is. It sounds a lot like Amityville. Not the house, just the occurrences. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is your thoughts then? Because like I said, I do love that you are versatile and open-minded. So when people say to you, you know, you have your people of faith and you have your people who like I always say like even not ufologists, I guess people who study a lot of different you know, extraterrestrials. Those, you know, you have a lot where they're trying to blend. And they'll
Well,
say,
it's
oh
all
no,
connected, Michelle. It is. And that's why I
yeah,
wrote the
the
book to connect the
demonic
dots.
or yes, I thought we would maybe touch on that. So when somebody says to you, no, demons are whatever, reptilians, archons, angels are Palladians or whatever, you know, what are your thoughts on all of that? How do you connect the dots?
Okay, so here's the way this is my best guess because nobody really knows the
For
answer, only
sure
God
not.
himself. So this
Yeah.
is my best, stab at this.
Okay.
Is that God, Yahweh, created all life.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, and what I'm about to say would be quite controversial, and I'd probably be thrown out of some churches for saying this, but I believe strongly that Yahweh is the creator of all things, and he also created the devil. And I believe that he created the devil Hasatan first as his first created son. He's the rebel son. And then, because Satan was a beautiful creature, adorned with jewels on him, and God put pipes in him as well, because he was the choir director in heaven. He was in charge of the praise and worship music. He held a very high place.
Is the morning star, right?
Yes. And so then Yahweh created Yahshua, Jesus, the Melchizedek, the high priest, the Prince of Peace. He created him, and it started a rebellion that Yahweh knew was already going to take place anyway, because I feel that he had the creation of mankind on the drawing board, so to speak. And certainly I believe that the devil would have been privy to that information. And so I feel that Yahweh, God, was going to use his first rebellious son as the adversary to mankind, because he was going to give mankind free will. Therefore, there would be an adversary to mankind, and then a deliverer in Yahshua, Jesus the Christ, that God would work through him to deliver people and lead them back to him. So there you have the two choices. And if you study the Bible, There's a difference between studying it and reading it. I read it first, and then I spent years studying it. And when you study it, you see the reoccurring theme of brother versus brother. Started with Cain and Abel, and it went throughout the Old Testament. And I believe that theme was rooted in the brother versus brother of Hasatan, the devil, and Jesus. And so when the time came for the devil and a third of the angels to be cast out of heaven, I feel that Yahweh had already created these Merkabah craft, flying craft. There's 70 scriptures in the Bible that talk about it. Psalm 68:17 says the chariots of God are 1,000 or 20,000. I'm sorry, the chariots of God are 20,000. So, okay, that's telling me that there's something created that, and then there's many references to clouds, pillar of a cloud, flying tabernacles, scrolls, flying rolls, all these types of things that are mentioned in the Bible. Why does our glorious God use a craft to navigate around in? I don't know. I don't have all the answers.
I think the Old Testament gave so much more information than the New Testament.
I agree.
But there's one thing in it that just sort of stumps me a little bit, is in the beginning where they say the gods created men in their image.
That's because there are gods. And there's one supreme God, his name is Yahweh, and there are other gods under him. And that's why he says, you shall worship no other gods before me, because there's gods under him. And people miss that. They miss it. They don't get it.
It's totally out of the New Testament, for sure.
Exactly right. So when the Benai Elohim, the sons of God, were cast out of heaven in those flying craft, they came down here to earth. They had sexual relations with human women, producing a hybrid offspring of giants called the Nephilim. The Nephilim went into the forest and had unnatural sex acts with the beasts of the field, apes, bears, dogs, wolves.
That's harsh.
This is the offspring of the offspring, which are the Bigfoot Sasquatch creatures. And that's why they have so many different looks, because they are the offspring of the offspring. And they're every bit as much supernatural as they are physical. So this is how this all ties in. And when God caused a great flood, I believe that some of those Nephilim were able to escape the planet in those flying craft, and that's why you see statues and pyramids and things of that nature on Mars, because they were able to escape and go someplace else until those floodwaters receded, and then they came back and continued to seed line. So interesting. A lot of this, people would go, in the churches, they wouldn't even want to hear this. They'd have their hands over their ears. They wouldn't even want to hear this. It's just like Enoch. In the King James Bible, there are 66 books. 66 books out of 600. There weren't 4 gospels. There were 150 gospels.
Enoch should have been kept in there.
There you go. Enoch was one of the most important men in the entirety, in history. God actually came down to him and revealed himself to Enoch. That tells me that Enoch was somebody that was very, very important. Enoch was taken up, shown the 7 levels of heaven. So this is a very important individual to be revered. And yet, you won't find him in the Bible. And furthermore, you will have certain Christians saying, you shouldn't read that book of Enoch because he's evil and that's all evil.
I've read it twice.
You're telling, I've read it myself.
I think I have 2 copies.
So you're telling me that a man that was so revered by God, loved so much by our Creator, that the Creator of everything came down and revealed himself to him and then had him taken up to the 7 levels of heaven, and that guy's evil? If he's evil, boy, oh boy, everybody's in trouble.
But when you think about it, where you have the one specific part where he said, and the angel showed Enoch, like the future of man within the palm of their hands. It sounds an awful lot like a cell phone or a computer like this. It sounds very technological to me.
I agree. And so here, Michelle, the way I equate life, and again, these are all my best guesses because I don't have it all figured out. Think of that Price is Right wheel, okay? That's what life is. That's how Yahweh created life. It's like this big wheel, and it goes round and round.
I want another spin, just saying.
Yes, and it clicks into these.
Free spin.
Yes. Well, it clicks into these different time slots. History does repeat itself. So where you think that it's possible and plausible maybe that somebody had some type of technological device back then, I can believe it because history repeats itself and the wheel spins around. And so here we are again. So we see historically, biblically, that civilizations have been destroyed for lack of obedience and rebelliousness to God. People thumbing their nose at God, people not even believing God, people having no thought or care about God whatsoever. He gives them every chance to come back, and they won't. And when they don't, then destruction comes. And I feel that we are in another locked in time in history on the big wheel, that through the rebelliousness of people and the selfishness and the vanity, and the devil's behind all of this, by the way. He's the vain one. He's the selfish one. And so he's trying to recreate the world in his image, after his likeness, after his kind. And so God's giving us every chance to come back, every chance.
But does that not go against that God is merciful?
God is merciful.
God is sounding like parent. Listening to this. Yeah, he's sounding like he's a little bit of a pissed off God that just.
You better believe it. Now think about if Michelle created the world. Think about this. Step outside of yourself for a second and think about if you were the creator of everything, and the people started saying, "Well, you know what? I don't need Michelle. She's nothing to me. You know, I'm going to do what I." Wouldn't you be upset? You created everything, and now the people are thumbing their nose at you.
But it kind of goes against the whole free will thing. I mean, I think more civilizations, and you know, been more wars waged in the name of God through religion than anything else throughout the world.
It's absolutely wrong, and Scripture tells us that there are those who think that they are doing a service to God by doing all this killing and all this, and they are not. They are more lost than the ones that are lost. And so I agree.
But these are the figureheads. These are the figureheads of the world.
But they're not the work of God, and they're not the workers of God.
Yeah.
Furthermore, I firmly believe, and they know who they are, and more importantly, God knows who they are. These people that claim to be so godly and they're this and they're that, they're devils in disguises, and they are answering. And this goes for all the people in the high places on the earth. I don't care who you are. If you are in the power elite on this earth, then you're selling out to the devil because there's no other way. You can't do it. So the people in the entertainment industry, the sports industry, politics.
Send all the hate mail to Bill Bean.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Messenger.
Please do.
All
And
sold out.
if you don't believe in hell, please send Bill the email.
Send everything. Yes. Send
You
it to
can't
Bill.
be in those places. Now,
We are
especially
only
nowadays,
the platform. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
more so than
That's a whole
ever
other.
before. You can't be in those high places without. So here's my best guess on this is that, and think about this, where Jesus is out in the wilderness for 40 days and the devil comes to him and he takes him up. Now, how is it possible that the devil takes the Son of God up anywhere? How's that possible? Well, the scripture says he took him up to a pinnacle, a high place, and said to him, if you'll get down on your knees and worship me, it's all yours. Now, A, how does this being take the Son of God anywhere? B, how does he think he has the right to tell the Son of God to get on his knees and worship him and it's all his? Unless he too is the Son of God, the older son that feels it's his birthright to have the world that he could give to the younger brother. And we see stories in there as well with the older brother giving the portion to the younger brother. So that is my best guess on how that would take place, is that the devil feels the world is his birthright. It is his. And furthermore, I feel that God is allowing him to be in control at this point in time, not only due to free will, but it's the ultimate test of faith. For those that are in real strong faith, they will still choose God and they'll want to be with God. But if you really step outside of things, Michelle and Amelia, if you step outside of what's taking place in our world, you'll go, whoa, what is this? Because it's based, it really now currently over the last, I'd say probably 10, 15 years, especially selfishness, vanity, lack of empathy and caring for others. It's all about me. Even if I got to harm someone to get to this higher position and standing, it doesn't matter because it's all about me and what I'm doing. And that is the theme of the devil. And so now we have programming, and we've always had it, but now more so than ever before. Programming through TV shows, music, internet, and TV commercials, things of movies that promote the devil as not such a bad guy after all. We have a Match.com commercial out now by good old Ryan Reynolds that portrays the devil as a cool guy that gets this girl on the date and all this, and Taylor Swift's playing the music to it. It's just wonderful. And
but there are some people who believe maybe it's flipped.
I understand that. I understand it. And it is a very clever trick. And what's going to happen, unfortunately, and this is where we test the spirits. So if a person would have that kind of thought to say, okay, Lucifer's the light bearer, Lucifer's the good guy, he's the one, test that. And if you start binding and rebuking and challenging and casting out, you'll get your answers. I'll guarantee you that. And so this all comes down to holy discernment and using our minds instead of our heart and emotion. We have to have sound and rational thought, be able to stay outside of a situation.
So answer this then, if you don't mind, just because, of a comment that was made in the chat room. Why do you think, because so much of this is not in the current Bible, why do you think all of that was left out?
Because people wrote that, and I'm going to say this right now. Do I believe the core message of the Bible is true? Yes, I do. However, it's been greatly altered, even from the beginning, because it was put together to control people. Okay. So they would leave out, they would put in things that would be beneficial to them, as far as like Romans, I think it's Romans 13, where it talks about you've got to follow everything the government says and trust the government, and they're an extension of God, and you better do what they say do. And sorry, that's garbage. I don't believe that for 1 second. So I think that, especially the New Testament, when the New Testament came in, Constantine the Great was the founder of Christianity. And it's very interesting because he's hailed as a hero.
I love how the great follows his name.
Yeah.
But he was a pagan, and he believed in all of gods.
He worshipped Mithra, the sun god. And furthermore, he executed his wife and his son. And this is after he formed Christianity, okay? So people see this man as a hero, and he formed this. Well, he did that to have better control of the people. So if you could get all the belief systems and you put them into one, now you got a better
is religion essentially something that controls?
Yes.
Humanity.
However, again, I believe the core message of the Bible that Yahweh is the creator of the universe. And here's another thing.
That was subtle.
Yahweh's name. Yahweh's name was mentioned 6,823 times in the Bible, yet taken out. You will only find his name in there a couple of times in the entire Bible now. So that was done on purpose, and that was done by the Romans. So when Constantine came in, he got Eusebius and all these other scribes, and they started making their changes and adding this and adding that. So they made sure they took God's name out of mostly everything. Then they had the councils of Nicaea and Laodicea, and they voted on Jesus. Is he the Son of God? They voted on that. And then they voted is he God? And they voted and said yes. So we don't want a Hebrew God, Yahweh. We don't want anything to do with the Jews and what they have. So here's our God now. We're going to make Jesus God. And that is wrong, because Jesus said himself, my father, my father, my father. The boy came to him and said, good master, what is it that I could do that I could get to heaven? He says, why does thou callest me good? There's no one good except for God. So over and over and over again, Jesus gave the glory. Furthermore, he said, this is how you should pray. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. That's what he said. So,
but do you know that's not the original Lord's Prayer?
No,
really, what is the original?
I'll have to send it to you.
That prayer has been altered now anyway through the Mandela effect.
I will send it to you because I don't have it in front of me because, you know, it just happened to come up. It's actually a very lengthy prayer. It's quite beautiful. But,
I'd be interested to hear, because there's no originals of anything. Everything biblical. They're copies of copies of copies. There's no original text anywhere.
Absolutely. It's like broken telephone.
It was wild. I'll send it to you.
These stories were told 50 to 150 years, especially in the New Testament, after Jesus' death on the cross, and which is not a cross anyway. It's in the Greek translation, it's called stavros, which is a stake. But the way they built those things, they were built as like apparatus to where they would have a top beam and then the lower beam like that. But it is not the way that it is portrayed to be.
There's a lot of things that aren't the way they were historically speaking. I think a lot of it is perception, because everybody's going to see it in different ways. You know, I believe in the end, people will take their different paths, but as long as they get to the same destination, and that's ultimately what matters. You have to draw your faith wherever you can, as long as it's in a positive way.
Exactly. You know? And God won't force us. He won't force us to do anything. And that's why I always say that anything that's done against one's will is not of God, because he gave us free will. He will not force us to do anything. However, he delights when we come back to him and have a real and authentic relationship. So I developed a real and authentic relationship with God, not because somebody told me to, not because somebody told me I needed to or I had to. I did it because I chose by my free will to do it. And my life has been abundantly blessed ever since. So you can't be coerced or forced into anything like that. I would never do something like that to somebody. I could tell you what I did and what I do, but I can't say to you, Michelle, you better do this, or anybody. I wouldn't do it. I don't do it with my clients. I wouldn't do it with anybody. I pray for people, and I pray that they have their eyes open and follow the truth. But they'll find it in their way, just like I did. It took me a long time to be able to get there.
So when you look at things that were left out, are you familiar with the Book of Kings?
Yes.
Okay. So what is your take then? Okay, I'm going to do it. I am only the messenger. Again, don't send me hate mail. Okay. According to the Book of Kings, God, or Yahweh, had a wife who was worshipped alongside him in the temple of Israel, whose name was Asherah, and they were both worshipped by the ancient Israelites. I'm only the messenger, man. I am
it's and that's part of I guess that's part of the Gnostic beliefs there.
It's in the Book of Kings. It's just something that you know.
I don't know what to say about it, Michelle, other than to say that I wasn't there. I don't know. Even at the creation event, I wasn't there, and I don't know exactly how that happened. But yes, there it is.
I just found it fascinating. I was researching for another show, and I was like, what?
But see, the Mandela effect, and I'm not saying that's a Mandela effect, but they've added things in there like that, like the goddess Diana and all this kind of stuff. And the other, the alien god, what was his name? It's cannot think. It's in the Bible now. And I cannot think, that name will come to me in a second, but they talk about worship of him as well. Kiowa or something like that. Kiowan, I'll have to look it up.
Wow,
but
crazy.
It's amazing how all these things are coming in now. This is why it's so important. And I had a debate with a scholar, a Bible scholar, I don't know, probably 3-4 years ago. He's a pastor in Tennessee. And he was angry with me because I was talking about the Mandela effect and the scripture changes. And he was saying to me,
Oh, I
that
remember
Bible
that.
hasn't changed one
Yeah.
bit. You're an agent for the devil. You're doing this, you're doing that. You're leading people
Mhm.
away from God. And I said, really? Well, okay. So if you think that the scripture that used to say his body is well fed, his bones are moistened with marrow, and I think that's Job 21:24.
Mhm.
If you think that, that's what it originally said, but now it says his breasts are full of milk, his bones are moist. So if you think it's always said his breasts are full of milk, then I got a bridge I'll sell you. It did not say that. And furthermore,
Yeah.
like in the Lord's Prayer, where it says, forgive us of our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us.
Mhm.
Now it says, forgive us of our debts and debtors, which is wrong. And if you
That is wrong.
follow the passages
Yeah.
after that, it will show you that it's wrong, because it talks about the trespasses and trespassers going down through
Mhm.
the scriptures.
Mhm.
So all those things, and he continued to just try and deflect everything that I said. And at that point, you can't. I thought to myself, look, I'm not going to try and convince this guy of anything. I'm just going to
Mhm.
present it as it is now. And if
Mhm.
that's what he wants to believe, then go right ahead.
We're
And
gonna
now
hope.
there's a scripture in Revelation that talks about
Mhm.
Jesus
Mhm.
having his name now written on the back of his robe and a tattoo on his thigh. So if you want to believe these things, go right ahead.
We're gonna hold that thought. We have to do a station ID. Amelia, you're on.
Thank you. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers and Amelia Pisano, and our special guest tonight, Bill Bean. We are airing live out of New Orleans on 107.7 FM as well as 105.3 FM on United Public Radio. This segment is partially sponsored by Folgers Coffee. Thank you, Folgers.
Woo! Thank you, Folgers. We love you.
And I hope I
We
didn't
do.
delay that. I hope I didn't continue to rub my mouth
Oh
open.
no, this is our time that we do it. So we cut in right off the
Yeah.
bat. We don't like to be rude, but we have no choice.
Oh, it's perfect. You were great. It worked
It's a
perfectly.
sponsor. It's a sponsor.
Sponsors,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the most important part of our show at the
Well,
moment.
yeah, I got, not only the messages, this guy called me an agent for the devil and all this kind of stuff, then the people
Mhm.
that were part of his church sending me messages telling me that I'm an agent for the devil and all this. And I don't like to get those kind of messages, and I pray for those people. But look, if we're talking truth, let us talk truth. And the truth is stranger than fiction.
Mhm.
Pardon the pun, but it's true.
Mhm.
And let the truth be told. And the truth of the matter is that people have been conditioned,
Mhm.
mind conditioned, really probably since the beginning, when men started to take power over other men. And so you had factions that would take power and say, okay, well, now this is our philosophy and credo, and you have to believe this way in order to get along in our established society.
Mhm.
And I feel that theme carried over, and still to this day carries over. And I'm not criticizing the people in the churches. Look, there's a lot of wonderful people that are in the churches, but I feel, Michelle, that, and this is not your opinion or Amelia's, so the views expressed here are not necessarily the views of
we're very
the
open-minded.
host.
No, it's a learning experience for everybody. This is why we bring,
Yeah.
people in the top of their field, such as yourself, to share it with our listeners. We have millions of listeners. It's just it doesn't matter what we think.
Exactly. And
We
look,
share it, we learn, and that's what this show is about.
and people don't have to believe a word I'm saying, but I do urge you to do the research for yourself. You'll come to the truth. You'll see it. And I'm sorry to say that a lot of our churches of today are hijacked. And so they will teach a cookie cutter message, and they will pat you on your head and then ask you for your wallet. And I'm sorry to say that.
I agree with you 100%. Look at that.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Praise God. It's true. It's the truth.
Yes.
And if you went to a large percentage, especially all these big names in the evangelical field, and you went to them and said, I need help, spiritual help, unless you got a large sum of money, they ain't giving you the time of day. Furthermore, I've had some of these types call me in to deliver them and their families and their churches and stuff like that. So, and then I would say, well, wait a minute, why aren't you doing this yourself? Oh, I'm not trained in that. I don't want to. I did the TV shoot there in Columbia, Missouri, for the Holzer Files a couple of years ago, and I performed an exorcism deliverance over a lady out there, Lydia, and they rented this church. The pastor was a very, very nice man. But he told me, I'm terrified. I don't want to be around any of that. And I said, well, why don't you stay? I can teach you. No way. No, that's not my calling. And that's
it's not for everyone. I mean, it's even why the Catholics have their own branch, specifically trained individuals who do this. But I can't tell you how many times throughout the last 18 years that I've gone to help somebody who have gone to their churches. And sometimes, I mean, at one point, the priest came and he visited and things were flying off the refrigerator, doors are closing. He goes, okay, we'll be back. Don't worry, we'll be back. We're going to have to get somebody better trained. And they never heard from them again. Yeah. They never even tried to get them help. It is sad because
very, very sad.
If you can't do it yourself, right? Like if you can't do it yourself, would you not at least try to find somebody who could do it within your congregation? Put it out there. You see it for yourself. It's not like you need to say, well, okay, there's mental health going on. I mean, it could have been psychokinesis, possibly, but you think you would at least stay and pray with them, do something, because obviously they were very this was a very faithful woman, and she belonged to the church, and she reached out to the church because that was her faith. Therefore,
and it probably destroyed her faith, Michelle. Probably put a big dent in it or destroyed it after that because, and I've had many clients like that as well that, went to their pastor or priest and let them know that they were having these problems. And they go, what do you want me to do? I can't help you there. I'm not trained in that. And that's
in a lot of cases. In a lot of cases, somehow she came to me. And honestly, when she opened the door, she fell to her knees and grabbed onto it. It's like, my gosh. No pressure.
But, well, praise God that he worked for you to help that woman.
Eventually we got her clear, but it was a work in process. I'm not an exorcist either, but it's a lot of work with changing mindset, renewing faith in wherever your faith may lie, educating people, and that's just for starters. But at the end of the day, at least, the family is clear. But it's sad that they don't get it from the people they need to get it from.
I agree.
They're there taking your money, but they're not there to deliver the service, right?
If that same woman would have said, look, I've got $5,000 that I want to donate to, then maybe there would have been a few of those people out there, maybe.
I didn't say it, you did.
But, and it's a very sad thing for me to have to say that, but it's the truth. And I would challenge any of these people anytime. If you think that what I'm saying is not true, well, then let's do it. Let's see what you do and go out there and helping people like that. I've heard from so many people, oh, well, I went to Pastor so-and-so and they said they were too busy. They got this going on. They can't help me and all that. That's not their field. Well, what is your field? What is your expertise? Getting money from people? What else do you do? You give a cookie cutter message and pat people on the head and say, think good thoughts and ignore these other things. Meanwhile, these people are suffering in unimaginable ways while the good pastor or priest or whatever is living in his mansion, living the high life, and not giving a second thought to these people that are suffering. And I'm sorry to have to say it that way, but it's the truth with some of these people. And believe you me, I know who some are, but more importantly, God knows who they are, and they're going to pay a price for this one day.
Yeah, we've seen all kinds, haven't we, Amelia?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, absolutely. I wanted to ask you a question because I've noticed this recently. You talk about the 7 levels of heaven, and a lot of people believe as above, so below. Some people who work in this field and work with light and energy do not believe in hell. What's your opinion on that?
Can't have one without the other. And so, again, it goes right back to what I was saying when Yahweh created the devil, that He created the devil to be the adversary to mankind. And there is a place of torment, unfortunately, and Enoch talked about that too, that it is a result of the incorrigible. And I think that it applies because every man's a sinner. We all make mistakes. There's no man on the face of this earth that could say he's sin-free. It's a lie. We're immersed in a sin-filled world. Therefore, we all make mistakes. God loves us in spite of ourselves. However, there are people, and that term bad seed, you guys have heard that before, right? A bad seed? Well, I believe that is a satanic seed, a person of the satanic seed line. And that is a person that is incorrigible. That is a person that wakes up every day setting out to do evil against someone. And that is a person that I would think is hell bound.
I've never heard that term before.
Yeah,
bad seed line. It's interesting.
And so a person that makes mistakes, as we all do, but yet, if we repent for those mistakes, God will hear that and he'll forgive us for it. I could write a 500-page book on the mistakes I've made in life. And I thank God.
I could triple that one.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're human. We're human beings. We make mistakes, and that goes back to what I said earlier. As part of the journey, we all have a journey, and sometimes we make mistakes along the way. But when we come back to God and ask him for forgiveness, he does forgive us, and he blesses us, and he helps us to move forward. So we have intent. I would say a large percentage of mankind has intent to do good. We all have the capability to do good or evil. It is by our choice. However, there is 10% that I feel, and they're mentioned as the terrors in the Bible. They are of the satanic seed line. They are the bad seed. And those are the types I believe will be roasting in the pits of hell because they don't have anything but bad in them and bad intent. And these are the types that, unfortunately, will have their day. I don't want to see anybody go to hell, but if those are the kind that they truly set out to do wickedness against mankind every single day, they're going to have their place. And their
so
place.
Where does the bad seed line originate from? What's the actual lineage?
Well, wait till you hear this.
I'm waiting.
This goes back to the garden.
Okay.
And I think that it wasn't about eating a piece of fruit. It was about Eve having sex with the devil, which produced Cain. Cain was the firstborn of the devil. Abel was the son. So they were twins. And so Abel was the son of Adam. So I believe that Eve had sex with both Adam and the devil. And so if that's true, that's why there was enmity there, hatred between Cain and his brother. That's why God had no favor on Cain. When Cain would give his offerings, God had no favor on him. He had the favor on Abel. And Cain hated his brother from the beginning, and he slew his brother.
So Adam kind of got shafted by Eve and Lilith. Jesus, poor guy.
So God calls them together. Wow. Now, think about this in Genesis 3, verses 13 through 15. He says, brings them all together. It says, because you've done this, he's talking to the devil now, because you've done this with her, I will put and create enmity between you and the woman. So that's hatred. I will create hatred between you and the woman. And I will create enmity, hatred, between your seed and her seed. Cain, Abel. And that's why Cain slew his brother Abel. And then here's another question. Here's an icing part on the cake here. When God, this all takes place and he slays his brother, and God says, where's your brother? He says, I'm not my brother's keeper. And Abel's blood was crying out from the ground. God is ready to banish Cain from the garden. And Cain says, you can't send me out there. They'll kill me if you send me. Who are they? There's a whole other people out there that are not mentioned in the Bible because God, he says to God, if you send me out there outside of the garden, they are going to kill me. Nobody talks about those people.
No. Amelia, you had a question?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Amelia.
Yeah, Zachman. No, it's okay. Zachman in the chat room wrote, earlier, and I as soon as I saw it, you started saying Cain and Abel. He would have a question when Bill described Lucifer as the older brother of Jesus. Does that run parallel with the story of Cain and Abel? Why or
Yep.
why not? I just found the timing to be incredible.
Yeah, there it is. Absolutely. And it's a theme, Esau and Jacob. It just goes all through the Old Testament. And yes, I believe it's all derived from the rebellion of the devil and his banishment, and really sent down here to be the adversary of mankind.
Okay. We have another question. Aaron Spellman writes, I often wonder if Bill has ever had a property leading to an exorcism with the land and family that he hasn't been able to help. Has a property ever been too strong for him to clear?
Never once, and I praise God for that. Now, that doesn't mean that something couldn't or didn't come back, but what it means is at that point in time, by the power of God, everything that was evil on that person's family, property, home, whatever, and the possessions in it were cleared by the power of God from all evil. Now, if people do something to open the doorway back up, then 7 more wicked than the original will return. And so that does happen in some cases. Furthermore, in today's world, with technology in the way that it is, and we have this AI quantum technology, which is fallen angel technology, in my opinion, these portals can reopen. So we have these things like CERN, and now they have mini CERNs in America and in different places around the world. So that said, these types of things are designed to open portals and dimensional doorways, and that's exactly what happens. So as fast as I'm binding and rebuking and closing and getting rid of all the evil by the power of God, and I say, I command these portals by the mighty power of Yahweh in his mighty and holy name, in Jesus' name, I declare and command that these portals are now closed, shut, chained, padlocked to the devil and his minions. And then I ask God to have angels to guard those portals, but that doesn't mean that other portals can't open up. And with that
by
type
no
of
fault
technology,
of the people, like
yes,
at all times. Yeah. It's almost like, when you end up with something coming in, you sort of have that little bullseye on your back.
Yeah, absolutely right. So it is very imperative. And what I do is after each and every exorcism, deliverance, whatever you want to call it, after each one of these types of things take place, I try to arm the client or clients with a list of prayers that I say every single day. So I give them step by step of what I do and how I start my day with God. The first thing I do again when I open my eyes, I thank God and praise God for the day, and then I get on my knees and pray. That's every single day of my life without fail, and it will be every single day for the rest of my life without fail. And then through the course of the day, I'm very, very busy. Sometimes I don't get to bed. Last night I got to bed 6 a.m. this morning. So sometimes I get to bed 5, 6 a.m., whatever it is. I don't care how tired I am. I end it with God and prayer. And then, of course, I'm praying in between. But I'm trying to be as authentic and as real as I can possibly be in my connection and relationship with God. Doesn't make me perfect. Doesn't make me holier than thou. It makes me real. And I always try to be real and authentic. And I always want people to see that and feel that, so then they could get something from that. And so I try to make people armed and dangerous against the enemy after these types of things take place.
Yeah, that would make sense. Amelia, do you have anything from the chat room? I see you.
Aaron Spellman wants to contact Bill. He asked me to share your email. I don't have his email, but I did tell him that he can contact you directly.
Yeah.
So he has a property nearby him that he wants to talk to you about. So look for his email, Aaron Spellman.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Sorry,
Bill will
Aaron,
be.
I don't have anything at my fingertips. Yeah.
No, it's okay. Yeah, because Bill will be giving his website and contact information at the end of the show. So that'll work out. Maybe just have a listen for that. So it's interesting what you say about the portals, because there's a lot of natural portals out there, and there's a lot of portals that get created just through attachment, tearing through, coming through.
Yes.
I've had people say to me when they hear something come through, it does sound like popping sound or like tearing sounds.
Correct.
And those are a little bit, I guess, easier to close. And let's say what you would call CERN. I mean, that's a big kahuna right there. I don't imagine that's going to be all that easy. Do you find that those specific ones open up like rather quickly compared to? Because I mean, in our experience, we've been able to close portals and they stay that way.
Praise God for that.
Yeah, maybe
but
just
with this technology now, especially in areas like New York, Chicago, in those areas, there are those types of devices right there. It is fallen angel technology, and those things will reopen just on a whim. And really, I mean, it's somebody that is behind, whether it's a keyboard or however they do it, to open those types of things. But this is why we have more reports of the phenomena and different phenomena, and whether that is Bigfoot, UFOs, cryptids, whatever it may be, is because these dimensional doorways are being opened and more of these entities are coming through.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's unbelievable how many are coming through right now.
Absolutely.
Especially with the sadness and the low vibration across the world with COVID and all the tragic losses and all these conspiracy theories weighing on people. It's been overwhelming for many.
Yeah, I agree with Amelia on that. Let's just back up a minute to conspiracy theories. Do you find that, because some people love them, and they always say that there's, for every conspiracy theory, there's a grain of truth behind it that got it going in the first place. But do you find that it just makes things worse?
It can. And that's why I try to tell people. And do I speak about them? Absolutely. Do I believe some of them? Yeah, some.
Right.
But I always tell people, no matter what it is, don't worry about it. We have to trust in God. And a prime example of this, and I'm not going to get into politics. I'm off of that thing. I don't care what any of those people do. I don't trust any of them. And I don't think any of them have the best interest of the people. That's my opinion. But an example with that Capitol riot, those people were led to do something. Now, look, they had intent in their own minds. However, they were led to perpetrate those things that took place. And now I read the stories about some of them. They have regrets that they did it. They were misled and falsely led because they bought into these QAnon conspiracy theories and all this stuff. This is very dangerous. And so when people study into things like that, take it to God first. Ask him if it is truth or if it is garbage. That's what I do. I never follow along in any of that QAnon garbage.
But a lot of them are very religious people. I have to just intercept there for a minute. I watched that unfold that day, and I see it as a collective energy that just kept feeding off of each other.
Well, here's the mistake.
The way you feel positive. You know how to say when you go to see a comedian, he's always funnier in person than he is on television. There is a lot to be said for that because of the energy around you. And when you're in something like a riot, you're feeding off that other energy, and you tend to lose yourself in things. You lose yourself in positivity. You lose yourself in negativity. And I feel like they just fed off of each other. Yes. It was just crazy. That's why riots go too far. That's why they're called riots. You know, they may have gone there with the proper intention, and then it comes into play again. You are who you're with. And a lot of them said God wouldn't want this. And I'm like, oh, here we go. You know, it's mindset too. Yes. I had a hard time, like everybody. I had a difficult time watching that. And of course they're going to feel it now because they have no support. Now.
Well, their hero abandoned them. They're one that they were worshiping, and this is where it comes down to idol worship. And this is why God doesn't want us to idol worship, This is why when people try to give me idol worship, I reject it and say, don't give that to me. Let's give that to God. Because when you start worshiping a man, he can lead you anywhere. And that man said, I'm going to march with you down there and we're going to take action. Yet that man was nowhere to be found when it all happened. That man, they thought was going to save them from prosecution and all these things. He's abandoned them now. So look, this is where idol worship comes in. And when people are taken over, and it goes back to what I said earlier in the interview, we have to think with our minds. And if we follow our hearts and emotion, we're going to follow disaster. And that's exactly what happened there. It's a miracle that more people weren't killed. But I just find it mind-boggling. Well. I don't follow any man anywhere. There's no man on planet Earth that can lead me anywhere.
That's a lot of narcissism in that group, not just the leader or who they say was encouraging them. It's them as well.
Well, again, it's a collective, and it's the people. And I could do the very same thing very easily, and I would never. But if I chose to do it, I could get a group of people like you wouldn't believe to say, we're going to do this, and here's what we're going to do, and we're going to. That's a cult. It'd be very easy to do.
That's how cults work.
I wouldn't do it because it's not of God. It's not right. And yet people will fall into it. And why? Because people are mostly followers. There's very few leaders in the world, very few good leaders. And a good leader certainly would never put people in a situation like that. But once people have emotionally invested into something, nothing's going to stop it. They're going to follow right along with it to their destruction. It's very sad. And I hope that people did learn a lesson from it. I hope that that in the future, whatever leader, again, I don't trust any of them, whatever leader that would try and lead people into something again, I would hope that people would take a breath and say, wait a minute, no, because if I do that, this is what the result is going to be of that. So what positive came from that? Nothing.
I think it's a sign of the times. You see it even just with COVID itself. You get people who, I mean, I know people who were would fight for good and wrong, like they would stand up for causes.
Sure.
And now these people are saying, we have to trust the government. This is happening. The news knows what's going on. Like, it's like, no, wait a second. What happened to that guy?
Yeah.
There's no denying this virus is here, but you have to look at the fact that you have governments seeing how far they can push a little bit at a time. And I think some people are starting to say now, you know what? There's something seriously wrong here.
Something's wrong.
It's far beyond. We know the virus is here. We're all in it together. We should all just try to work together. But it's like they're getting people just fighting against one another while they're behind the scenes pushing and pushing and pushing.
Yeah, so and it doesn't help when they've been proven to be liars either.
Well, it doesn't help when
more often than not now.
You have a creator of a test who says this doesn't work for this because it gives too many false positives. Then you have government saying, okay, nobody can travel, but they're all traveling.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. But you're like, but you want us to believe what you're saying. How serious is this thing? Because you guys don't seem to be worried about it at all. So it's just a different type of mob mentality. Right?
Well, again, it's a mentality and it's a means to control. So it's testing the waters.
Yes.
The devil's behind this because he's the author of division and confusion and the author of chaos. So it's order out of chaos. That's his order. And so that's why I say God's allowing the devil to have this short time to really create this level of disturbance and chaos on the earth. And it's really up to us, the good and faithful people, to be able to be a steadying, stabilizing force to say, look, we have to take all matters to God. And God will have an answer for this. And I believe it's going to be sooner than later. These types think that they have every base covered and their plan's working perfect. Not quite. There's one base they can't cover, and that is stopping God from taking action. Once he's had enough, and nothing is going to stop his response to it. I do believe that when this time comes, and I believe it's going to come sooner than later, when it comes, I believe that he will make a place for us. And whether that means he evacuates us off of this planet, keeps us in his hedge of protection, just like he did Daniel when he was in the lion's den, whatever it may be,
Mhm.
He will protect his good and faithful people, but woe to those that
Mhm.
have not only forsaken him, but these bad seeds that are perpetrating all of this against the people of planet Earth. They
Mhm.
are going to have their day, and it is going to be sooner than later. I firmly believe it.
Mhm. Well, something's got to give because there's just a lot of good people out there doing some really crazy things. And I know some of
Yeah.
them, I'm thinking,
Mhm.
what happened to this person who would stand up and believe in fight for human rights? And now you're withering up and you're just like, no, no, we have to trust in this. We have to
Mm,
trust in this. I'm like,
yeah.
and who's terrified to just go out the door. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's not living, that's existing.
Very
It's
sad.
horrible. It's
It
been a
is
year.
very sad, but it's happening all over the place. And I understand the fears,
Yeah.
but it gets to a point we have to question everything behind it
Well,
also.
there's a
Absolutely.
motive, that's for sure.
Yeah. Go ahead, Amelia. Sorry.
No, I agree. I'm just agreeing
Oh.
with everything you're saying. And it's creating so much fear that after having been in lockdown since the 26th of December, I'm not a person who fears much. I'm actually afraid to go out. I think, oh my God, this will be the time that I get it. It's more of a concern because my daughter has a chronic illness, and
Mhm.
it's that I see people who are super, super careful and only go to get gas and to go to the grocery store, and then they got COVID. And I know someone who passed
Yeah.
away from it personally, and I've
Mhm.
known 11 people who had it in the last since our
Mhm.
lockdown, and it's scary. And then and then I have to stop and think, well, hold on a second, like a
Mhm.
car accident, you're just at the wrong place at the wrong time if you're
Yeah.
getting this. But the numbers, I don't believe.
No.
I've seen a lot of discrepancies, and the government's come back on it and said, yes, we're off by this amount or that amount. The percentages I don't agree with. I think everybody's doing their own math. And I'm very much concerned about what they're trying to distract us from. I'm not going to lie.
That's a kid ticket right there. What are they trying to distract you from?
And
Yeah.
and this is why we've got to stay at strong faith, because God will get us through. He'll guide us through whatever it is, whatever the situation is. And believe you me,
Mhm.
after this COVID-19 has served its purpose, and yes, I know it's very real. I've lost 2 family members to it.
Mhm.
As a minister, I have a mile-long list of people that, and I've had other family members that have had it that
Mhm.
survived it. But I've got a mile-long list from people that,
Mhm.
pray for me, pray for my family. They have it, they had it. Family
Mhm.
members, some people did die. Others, it was a lengthy process. Some have damage to the lungs. This
Mhm.
was a created thing, in my opinion, absolutely a created thing, and launched against the people of planet Earth. But this is step one, phase one. This is
Mhm.
part of something bigger. So once this has served its purpose,
Mhm.
they'll get it out of here. It'll be like it was never here.
I
But
agree.
then the next big thing will come along. And I'm sorry to tell people this, and I'm not trying to be negative, but what I am saying to you, be prepared. And the only way that you can be prepared is really to have that level of faith, strength, and courage, what I call warrior mode, being in that,
Mhm.
because God will get us through no matter what it is. But
Mhm.
rest assured, in my opinion, I believe 100% that there will be another big thing after this is out of here.
I agree with you. And unfortunately, it's already 11. So God, it went by so quick. So just tell everybody, A, what's coming up. B, how can everybody find you?
Well, I want to thank you both again. It's been a real
Oh, it's a
pleasure. I can't
pleasure.
believe how
No,
fast the
thank
time
you.
goes.
It does. It just flies.
Even faster for me since I've only been here the last hour.
That's all right. We made it. We
My
persevered.
gosh. I felt like I was fighting against some evil force trying to get through.
And yet we adapted and overcame it. And we praise God for that.
Always.
So
Thank you, Bill. Thank you.
it's my pleasure. Always enjoyed being on with you guys. Look forward to the next time. And I want to thank everybody out there also for tuning in. And much love, and God bless all of you. And if you want to get a copy of this new book, which will be coming out on February 18th, Stranger Than Fiction Part 2, visit BillJBean.com. You can order directly from the website if you want a signed copy. It'll also be available on Amazon as well.
Mhm.
And if you want to get one of the Warrior Mode t-shirts, I have, I believe, 3 or 4 different styles in the short sleeve tee, then one in the long sleeve tee. And you can make your orders again from BillJBean.com. So thank you, ladies. I really appreciate it. And
Oh,
much love. God
pleasure.
bless you and your families.
And you as well. We'll definitely do it again.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. And I'll make sure that you guys have, once I get it out, I'll make sure that you guys have copies of the book. And Michelle, you already have the PDF.
Yes.
I'm not
I
sure if
sent
I
it to
sent it to
Amelia.
Amelia. Did I?
I did.
Okay,
I
good.
sent it to
No,
Amelia. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your prayers and for your friendship.
Absolutely. And anything I can do for you guys anytime, I'll be there.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right,
But
ladies.
take
Have
care
a
of
good night.
yourself. Until next time.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Good night.
Bye-bye now. Well, we've come to another fantastic segment here in the Outer Realm. Thank you all for tuning in. Chat room is like on fire. Wow. Thank you. Thank you to
nice.
our special guest, Bill Bean. It's always a pleasure. Thanks to Joe for persevering and getting Amelia onto the show finally.
Thank you,
My
Joe.
God.
Yes.
And we would like to extend, of course, a huge thank you to our sponsor. So Folgers Coffee, thank you very much again for sponsoring tonight's show. Please remember again, guys, stop by United Public Radio YouTube channel, subscribe. Don't forget to find us on the Outer Realm Facebook, follow us on Instagram. If you'd like to see a specific guest or topic on the show, please email us at theouterrealmcontact@gmail.com or just go to theouterrealm.com. Outer Realm Radio. I always forget. So just do that or go to the Facebook page. So next week, wow, it's going to be like an amazing week. Again, we've got David Weatherly coming on board, and I have to check if he's going to have a special guest coming with him. So I'm still waiting to hear back on that. And of course, we've got Hamilton White and Carl Cookson from the hit TV show Lost Relics of the Knights Templar. And
Wow.
oh my gosh, yeah, this is near and dear to me, people. So they're going to be discussing all kinds of things. If you've seen the series on Discovery Channel, watch it if you haven't, because there's a lot of stuff that gets missed. When we film, a lot of stuff goes on the cutting room floor. You can only put so much in a segment. So they've got a lot to talk about, and they might even have a little surprise or two. So that we're really, really looking forward to it. Anyway, until then, Amelia and I thank you all. Have a safe weekend, and we will see you next week. So good night.
Good night.
Joe.
I can't even look at you.
Oh, I know, and I'm kind of like doing it solo.
I know. Oh my gosh, I still don't have internet.
That's okay. So thank you, everybody. This is great. I'm just gonna put good night. Oh, there we go.
Jill's probably like, you still have time.
I know, but here I am. So that was really interesting.
Yeah, he still has us live.
That's okay. I love different perspectives. I love listening to people, from different walks of life. My friend Jade was in tonight, and she's a witch, so she took it very well. I handed it to her. She was very graceful. So thank you, Jade. She was great.
It was a lot to take in. It really was, and it depends, like she said, on your beliefs and your personal. That's why it's important to be open-minded.
No, it's true. I definitely agree with that. And we all come from different walks of life. And with that being said, we're all going to have different belief systems. And as long as we keep it all positive, I think ultimately we all end up to where it is we're supposed to go. It's that simple. Until we get there, we don't really know. There's a lot of theories. People think that it's all here. We're all, this is purgatory, or this is where we come to atone. And there's all kinds of different theories. So again, we just have to take it one day at a time and do the best that we can, be good to one another, especially in these hard times. We definitely have to, stick together and not go against one another. It's like Bill was saying, fighting against your brother, man fighting against his brother. Let's not do that. Let's not make this the point where everybody is fighting with one another, neighbor against neighbor, brother against brother, cousin against cousin. Don't give the government what they want. That's absolutely ludicrous. Just do the right thing. And that's for people who, the whole mask thing, it's just like, gosh, just do the right thing. Period. It's here.
Oh my goodness, really?
It's here. It's
I know.
here.
Yeah, they're looking at the person, and I understand the mask is like a 30% protection, but that's only if you choose to wear that particular mask. If you choose to wear an N95, it is in the 90 percentiles of protection. And I don't know if anybody's ever seen a nurse get ready to work the COVID critical care unit, because I watched that on one of the TikToks. There's a nurse that I follow in the U.S., and I love her honesty. And you should see them prep to go into that unit. They are wearing 3 and 4 masks and taping them to their faces. These poor people, it's them that we want to protect as well. We want to protect them and their families by not spreading this. It's about slowing the spread. It's not about you're never going to get it because you're wearing a mask. But I agree with you. Just wear the mask. Stay home when you're told to stay home. Don't go into stores and give people a hard time. Because you don't want to wear that mask. That's what I'm finding the anger.
But in the same respect, there are people who have actual medical conditions where they even have doctor's notes that basically state, look, don't wear. But then you have stores that are just, no, you can't come in. It's our store policy. I'm sorry, this isn't a law. It is a suggestion. So I understand where everybody's, and I understand
their right to refuse service, though.
It is a right, but if the guy's got a note from the doctor, also, he can
go into another store. It's usually, I understand what you're saying.
The police came and fined this guy for trespassing. Okay, they fined him for trespassing because they couldn't find him on anything else. So this world is getting so ridiculously out of control.
Yeah, that's just wrong.
This is what I'm talking about, people. It is out of control, and that's where it has to ease up a little bit.
You know what I suggest?
Be good to one another. Be good to one another.
And if you want to make life easier for everybody, and you cannot wear a mask because of whatever medical condition, and that's your right.
Order your groceries.
Especially if you can't breathe. I mean, I'm claustrophobic, but you can wear a shield.
Yeah. Or order your food in.
And present that note. Yes.
Sure.
I'm hoping they give them cards, but the problem with the cards is there's too many counterfeiters, so they're concerned about that. This is a whole mess, but try to follow the law as much as possible so we can get through this faster, because I can't see the light and it's driving me crazy. It is driving me crazy, and people are becoming difficult to deal with. They're becoming harsh with each other. People they don't even know, so
it's getting a little bit crazy. And what's getting even crazier, people, is we signed off like 10 minutes ago. We're all here hanging with you all, which I don't mind, but just I know what's going to happen is all of a sudden I'm going to be in the middle of talking and I'm going to be gone.
And Joe's going to cut us off.
And you're all going to be gone. And we're going to be sitting there going, what happened?